Devaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so Happy New Year, everyone, and what is it? 2022. Last 2 years just flew away. All thanks to a very tiny personality, COVID. Yeah. So oh, it's interesting how the years pass by and our lives are getting shorter. Uh, and still, as Maharaji this year encountered or explained or answered the yaksha, right? People still think they will not die, right? So in any case, I would just I was asked by uh, Satyasai Prabhu to speak a bit today since it's the new year, and hopefully I can encourage all of you to become more serious in your Krishna consciousness. What I would like to speak is I would introduce from the Chaitanya Charitamrita about what had happened. This is in Madhya Lila. I think it's in Sanatan Goswami. Uh, he is one of the ministers of the Nawab Hussain. Very, it's like a king, you can say, in Bengal at that time. And his role uh, was one of the chief ministers, and his brother was also another minister. So they're taking care of many of the ministerial functions for the Nawab, at that time. So they were very valuable personalities. Both Rupa and Sanatan were very highly educated. They come from a very high class Brahmana family, but due to circumstances, they ended up serving the Nawab Hussain as his ministers. They were able to speak six, seven, or even eight languages. So when Mahaprabhu's after Mahaprabhu took his sannyas, he became very, you can say, popular. Yeah, word spread that the personality of Godhead is among them, preaching the Sankirtan Yuga Dharma Sankirtan movement. So both Sanatan and Rupa, they do go and meet Mahaprabhu, uh, and I believe in Prayag. And in any case, Mahaprabhu told them, to go back and continue with their practice, and later on, Lord Krishna will bless them like that. But Rupa and Sanatan couldn't continue in that capacity as the ministers, even though they were so well-to-do, they had everything that one can ask for, very wealthy. Uh, Still, they were not happy in their situation. And Rupa then quit his job as a minister, and then he went to take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who then guided him and told him to go to Vrindavan. But Sanatan Goswami couldn't do it, and so he continued his service. But then he decided that it was too much, and so he called in sick. Like when you don't want to go to work, you sometimes call in sick. So he called in sick, but he wasn't calling in sick for 1 or 2 days. He called in sick for pretty long time. But actually what he was doing was he invited the Brahmanas to his home, and daily they were chanting from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they were discussing the Bhagavad Purana very nicely among themselves. The Nawab suspected something was going on, and so he sent his men, who then reported to him that actually Sanatan is not sick; he's just doing this spiritual pursuit. So the Nawab got very unhappy with Sanatan Goswami, so he sent his soldiers. They caught Sanatan Goswami and put into jail. So whilst in jail, Sanatan Goswami, remember they were very wealthy. So he had over, I think, 3,000 or 3 million gold coins or something in his possession. So then he bribed the jail keeper and asked him, he explained to him, look, I don't want anything in my life. I just want to be a priest. I just want to search after God. And so the jailer, when he heard what Sanatan goes, he said, yeah, this is fine. Since you're not going to do anything serious, I will release you. And so he releases Sanatan Goswami. And Sanatan Goswami, of course, escapes from quite a few incidences. And finally, he reaches Chandrasekhara's home. And this is in Varanasi. And of course, he goes and gets, ultimately, he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Chandrasekhara's home. And there, he questions Mahaprabhu. He says, I have so much, or I have so much material wealth. I've experienced material wealth and material position. But having all those is not really the value of life or true value. I cannot see the true value of life. So he asked this very important question. You can see, you can look it up in Madhya Leela, Sanatan Goswami, when he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, Ke Ami, Ke Ami, who am I? Ke Ami, Kena Amaya Jare Tapa Traya. So he says, Keami, Kena Amaya, Jare Tapa Traya. Jare Tapatraya. Tapatraya means three modes material nature that is affecting me. So he says, why do I suffer these threefold miseries in this material world? Why do I suffer? Then he said, Iha nahi jani. I do not know, but if I know, Kemani hita haya. If I know, then I will know how to benefit myself, right? Sometimes in life, if you know certain things, then it will be very beneficial. Then you will know how to apply it, and the effect of application will be very positive for all of us like that. So therefore, it's very important to ask the right questions in our lives. Otherwise, we'll end up not knowing what is right and what is wrong. Okay. Basically, we have to understand the threefold miseries arise from the body, the mind, and then there's miseries that arise from dealing with other living entities. Of course, there's also miseries that we are dealing with on a daily basis, which are from natural disturbances. For example, a couple of days ago, the weather is like in the 80s, and now the last few days it's so windy, and by tonight the temperatures are going to go into the 30s. So these are all miseries actually. It's not something exciting, right? I don't think all of you are looking forward to a freezing temperature. If you are, then you really need to see some special personalities. So sometimes also we suffer bodily. Prabhupada says we may be having a fever, or sometimes due to circumstances, we may have a mental situation, suffer mentally. Maybe a friend, a very close friend or a relative dies. And of course, the mosquitoes, the cockroach, bed bugs, or locusts, other living entities, or even your father-in-law or mother-in-law, they may also give you miseries, or even your own siblings, your husband, your wife, your own son, your own sons and daughters, they can also cause so much misery. Okay, so many things, So miserable conditions are brought about by natural catastrophes also, and these are controlled by the superior or higher demigods. Prabhupada mentions that. Yeah. Sometimes even you have tsunami, right? We read about tsunami, or what is that? Typhoon? No, not typhoon. Hurricane in this country, and then you have the tornadoes. Terrible situations can happen, and sometimes even people get haunted by ghosts. Okay, so these are threefold miseries, and they are always there. We cannot escape them, and they trap us in a dangerous situation as we all live in this material world. Padam padam, yad vi padam. This material world is full of danger. There's danger in every step of our life. It's very important that all of you understand this, what I'm trying to say, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami. Unless you really appreciate that you are suffering, you are not going to make changes in your lives. You will just pretend that I'm okay. You know, I'm okay. You're okay. My children are okay. My home is okay. My parents are okay. But nobody is actually okay. You know, everybody is thinking they are okay. But in reality, there's danger in every step. Right? Last year, so many devotees also died because of this virus, COVID. Um, and then there are so many more will die because they make choices, not good choice. They make bad choices like that. Yeah. So the conditioned soul cannot. You and I, all of us, we are conditioned. We cannot revive our Krishna consciousness by our own efforts. But out of causeless mercy of Guru and Krishna. And remember, Lord Krishna personally has compiled the Vedic literatures and the Puranas, the supplements. Why? So that we can understand our constitutional position. We can understand who we are. Of course, when I say Lord Krishna, I'm saying in his expansions or incarnations like Vyasadeva. And other personalities, even empowered jivas who compile and supplement this the Veda. So Jivera Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Purana. So we can understand from these Vedic literatures our relationship with Krishna. Otherwise, we actually don't attempt to know who Krishna is, no? Right? On a day-to-day basis, we don't think who's Krishna, where is Krishna, what is Krishna doing at this time? We don't think like that. Right? We think what I want to do at this time, or what my husband or wife is doing at this time, like that. So the scriptures, basically, if you read Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll find it's always about our relationship with Krishna, our eternal relationship, and how we can re-establish that. So that relationship is sambandha, which is also discussed with between Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, understanding that I have a relationship with Krishna and how to act based on that understanding, according to those instructions, that is called abhideya. That means how do I process this relationship? Like that. And once you understand how I can process it, how do I re-establish that relationship? That's abhideya. And ultimately, what is the goal of having that relationship? That is called prayojana. What is the ultimate goal? It's devotional service, actually. And what is devotional service? It is using our senses for the pleasure or the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is abhideya. The practice is abhideya, because Doing abhidheya, we can develop the loving relationship or the original love we have for Krishna, which is the goal of life, which is prayojana. Okay. So then Mahaprabhu continues in his discussion, and in his discussion, he tells Sanatan Goswami about, he gives a parable about an astrologer, very intelligent, learned astrologer. He comes to a very poor man's house, and then he sees uh, the poor person in a very distressed condition, right or not? Let's say all of us, not all of us, maybe some of us, then it makes more sense. Uh, get laid off from your job, and then you couldn't get a job for 1 2 years, whereas your friends are all having more job, then you become more distressed, right? He became more miserable. And so they all will see and see, yeah, he don't look good. He's not. So similarly, the astrologer looked at him, seeing him in his distressed condition. He asked him, why are you unhappy? Right now, when you know your friend has no job, you would not go and ask him, right? Why are you unhappy? You already know. Mostly we will say, how can we help you? So, in the same way, the astrologer, even though it seems it was harsh, but the astrologer, why are you unhappy? And then he qualifies his statement. Your father was very wealthy and he has given you so much wealth, but he did not tell you where he kept it because your father died in another place, and so he didn't have time to tell you. So when the poor person, when he heard the words of the uh, astrologer, he immediately had connected with the treasure, right? For most of us, it's like that. Something materialistic we want, we become very happy, like money. If I were to tell you, all of you who are in the temple room, that there's $10 million at your doorstep in your home. So I bet you many of you will try to go home immediately. Right? If it's guaranteed, let's say the what is that, UPS or DHL or FedEx, they text you and say this is the parcel outside your door, and there's $10 million in it. I bet you many of you will just run to go and see. Yeah. So anyway, the poor man could then he established a relationship with the treasure immediately. So in the same way, the scripture it tells our real connection with Krishna. What is our real connection? Who's Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead? Um, of course, how to get the wealth, the astrologer told him exactly how to go, where to go, and how he can achieve the treasure that is at the moment that is out of his sight. So he says the treasure is in a particular place, and then he says if you dig on the southern side of that place, then the wasp and drones like bees and wasp, the insect, they will come and they'll start stinging you, and then you'll be so painful that you will not be able to get your treasure. So that's on the southern side. Then he says, if you dig on the western side, he says there is a ghost. The ghost will create such a disturbance in your mind and that your hands will not even touch the treasure. Then he says, if you dig in the northern side, if you dig nicely, then he says, there's a big black snake, and that snake will simply devour you. It'll swallow you, and therefore you cannot even touch the treasure. But then he says, but if you just dig a small quantity on the eastern side, immediately your hands will touch the treasure, the pot of treasure. Now, Srila Prabhupada and even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they explain that the northern side where he was, obviously the southern side, right? The first one is southern side. when he digs, the wasp and the drones, they are compared to karma kanda. Mostly, most of us, even though, and I've seen it many places, devotees, even though they are initiated, they still are attached to karma kanda activities. Uh, it's, it is not something that a devotee, initiated devotee should be doing, but still we see so many, mainly because you lack faith, proper faith. But karma kanda is compared to the wasp and the drones. Why? Because it will bite you if you take shelter of them. Yeah? You get some happiness, after that it finishes. Karma kanda is like that, and then you are miserable again. So it's like the bees or wasps stinging you. There's always going to be some pain if you attempt karma kanda activities. Then the um, the the next place was on the western side, no, the western. So the western side is the ghost. So what is that referring to? Is jnana, jnana kanda, trying to understand speculative knowledge. What is the value of speculation when it simply give you mental disturbance? You don't even understand. Oh, what should I do? No, let me find out more. Sometimes people are like that. Huh? Even devotees are like that. You tell them this is not good because Prabhupada said, no, I want to read more and find out myself, arrogantly. So we'll create, so jnana section is also not good. It should be balanced with bhakti, but simply going after jnana, or the speculative process, will lead to mental disturbance and ultimately to impersonalism. All right. So then finally in the eastern side is the one where the snake is, and that snake will devour the person. What is the snake talk referred to? It's compared to yoga, mystic yoga, right? Sometimes you do some yoga to meditate on Krishna, but then ultimately then you get some siddhi. Then you think, oh, this is so nice. And then because if it's siddhi, you think you are as good as the Supreme Personality himself. The arrogance will come in. The false ego will cover one. Yoga siddhis all will enhance your false ego. Your material conception becomes bigger and it swallows you, thinking that you are God himself. So this is impersonal cultivation, kaivalya. But if you go to the southern side and then you a little bit you dig, that place is where you get the treasure. And what is the treasure? Actually, the treasure is bhakti yoga. So, in other words, through bhakti yoga, we can actually touch this hidden treasure, which is so difficult if we try any other method. But with bhakti, it's no difficulty. Basically, we will not be dependent on our material resources when we do bhakti. In fact, devotee means you are devoted to the Supreme Lord, not to your material conditions or material welfare. Of course, to develop that kind of mood and intention, one has to do service also properly. One then can get the mercy of Krishna. And he can give us real protection. Mostly we are trying to take shelter of the material energy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, Rakshishyatiti Vishvataha. That means the Supreme Lord, when we surrender to the Supreme Lord, he then gives us the protection, Raksha, Rakshi. This is the protection that the Lord gives us. So again, as practicing devotees, we have to understand this. We have to accept this fact that our real protector is Krishna. It's not our material possessions or our material acquisitions. Everything will go. If the whole economy crashes in a couple of weeks, what do you really have? Your home, everything cannot help you, Uh, you will go crazy. But if you have Krishna, even if anything goes away, you will understand that ultimately Krishna is my protector. Now, of course, this requires a great deal of surrender. Otherwise, it becomes too much of a stress for the those who are not as advanced, like that. Now, in Satya Yuga, if we compare from Kali Yuga to Satya Yuga, Dwapara, Treta Yuga, you find that all the human beings are very qualified, perfectly qualified, and they can perform the most difficult spiritual processes. Like, for example, we read, right, how many personalities, they can meditate for thousands of years without eating and sleeping, right? Uh, that's amazing. And then they can then get the audience of the Lord. So, although in any age, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord, even taking shelter of the holy name, you can get full perfection in any age. The highly qualified people in Satya Yuga, they do not consider that chanting the Lord's holy name is a complete process. They don't think like that. They think it's not like that. They are more attracted to difficult and elaborate yoga system of meditation in general. Of course, there are many great personalities even in Satya Yuga who would like to simply chant, like, you can see Narada Muni simply chants. He doesn't do any elaborate yoga meditation. Yoga meditation is sophisticated, so difficult, no? So much so, remember that even uh, Arjuna was saying, to Krishna, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati balavadridam, tasyaham nigraham manye vayureva suduskraram. Mind is restless, turbulent, it's so difficult, very strong. Krishna, I cannot subdue, I cannot control it. It's more difficult than controlling the wind. And Krishna says, very immediately after that, he says, Asamsayam Mahabaho. He's Mahabaho. Why? Because Arjuna is so powerful, he can even defeat Lord Shiva, but to control the mind is not so easy. So he agrees. Asamsayam Mahabahom. Undoubtedly, I agree with you. Mano Durnigraham Chalam. It's flickering and it's restless. So yes, I do agree with you. Undoubtedly, the mind is restless, Arjuna. And so he says, he gives the instruction, Abhyasena tu kontaya vairagena cha griyate. So he says, by detachment and by constant practice, it is possible to control our mind. So unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot control the mind steadily. So therefore, in ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada has set up so many services. So as devotees, the new year, you all should make resolutions. Statistically, people make resolutions, but statistically speaking, they cannot hold on to it for more than a couple of days. What to speak? Everyone says, oh, for this year, I'll do this. But then after 1 week, they're like, forget it. But the best resolution is Krishna conscious resolutions. Ask yourself how much you can increase your services. Seriously, if we are all interested in going back from this miserable situation in this material world, right, then we will ask these questions properly. What should I do? So what services are there? Prabhu, Satya Sai Prabhu is always looking for someone to help him in the preaching. So give some time, and for others who cannot give so much time, You can chant extra rounds. But simply chanting is also not enough. Srila Prabhupada wanted everyone to do service. Service is very important. No? Most people don't understand that service is important. Most of us, after initiation, classic, they take initiation, then you don't see them. You only see them once a year, maybe in Janmashtami, like that. Hey, Haribol, so nice to see you. That's it. I mean, you you are only coming once a year to see Krishna. You are giving your darshan to Krishna, like that. It's very sad though. So you have to increase services, something that is tangible. Why? Because by doing service, remember, the mind is not so easy to control in Kali Yuga. Therefore, by doing service, you will find your focus will be very good. Otherwise, what happened? Bhogaishwarya Pashaktanam Taya Parita Chetasam. Bhoga and Aishwarya. You will pursue this and trying to enjoy material opulence. Krishna says, if these two are there, trying to enjoy material things and accumulating wealth, if this is your goal, then you cannot become a devotee. It's not possible. It's not possible. If this is your goal in life, you will never understand Krishna consciousness. Mahaprabhu says also, Bhukti Mukti Adi Vancha Yadi Mane Haya Sadhana Karile Prema Utpanna Nahaya. So he says, if one is infected with material desire or enjoyment or even material liberation, he cannot rise to the platform of pure loving service of Krishna. Superficially, we can do some service here and there. Oh yeah, I'm doing Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Oh yeah, okay, but it's superficial. It's not good enough. Even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, if we keep in our hearts or maintain in our heart desire to enjoy the result of our good work, or we are not happy with this material work, or we want to get out of this material entanglement, you will never be able to attain the pure devotional service. It's not possible. We cannot desire material profit when we render devotional service. That's the other thing. Do not go to the temple thinking, if I do service, then Krishna is going to give me some material things. Don't do that. It's not good for you. Don't do that. Even if you follow the 64 Bhakti Angas, devotional regulative principles, 64 regulative principles, still you cannot attain pure devotional service if your heart is contaminated. Very important to know. But if you do sadhana bhakti means I'm doing it so that I can please my Guru and Krishna. That's why I'm doing sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti doesn't mean, okay, once I'm initiated, I'm bored, stay at home, No, it doesn't work like that. You use your senses for the pleasure of Krishna. That is sadhana bhakti. I'm doing this so that I can attain love of Krishna, but I'm using my senses so that it pleases Krishna. This is a regulative discharge. So it is said, no? Kriti sadhya bhavit sadhya bhava sa sadhana bida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam riddhi sadhyata. Yeah. Such devotion eternally exists in the heart of the living entity. And when we do it by properly following the instruction of Guru, then the love for Krishna comes out of us. That is in our heart. The awakening of this devotion is actually sadhana bhakti. That's what we are doing. All of us are doing that. All of us. So chanting and hearing is important. So don't give that up. Increase both. Every year you should increase something. Just don't sit at the same level. right? When you do your job, you're thinking of 5-year plan, 10-year plan. I want to be the CEO. I want to be the team lead. All this nonsense, right? So why not think of going back to Godhead? So to develop more and more attachment to Krishna, you must do service under a devotee. So many of you in Austin, you got so much opportunity. You're a young group of devotees, all of you. So don't waste your youth now. Later on, it's so difficult to do services. Even if you want to, you cannot do it. Don't think someone else will do, I don't have to do. No, then if that someone else will do, that someone else will go back to Godhead. You will come back again, and then again you'll say someone else will do. Don't be foolish like that. So when you do service, your chanting improves. You get the blessing of the Lord. Why? He's in your heart, you know. Tesam sadatam yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti. So he gives you the knowledge. Okay, you're so nicely doing service. I'll give you the understanding how to chant even nicely, how to read even more. I bet you many of you don't read at all Prabhupada's books. At most, you may look at it briefly. So one of your resolutions should be, all of you should be reading at least 1 hour a day. When Srila Prabhupada was a Grihastha, I think he was reading more than 1 hour. 2 to 3 hours he was reading. So keep aside, start to read also. But make sure you have some service, some tangible service. Go out on books on a weekend, get together a few devotees, go out on Sankirtan, or do some Harinam, all of you. Then all these things will be awakened in your heart very nicely. Right? So sadhana bhakti is important, but better to make sure the sadhana that you're doing is tasty, that you like what you're doing, then you must have service, right? If you're expert in cooking, then get together a few of you. You can make cookies so that when you go out on Harinam, you can distribute. Or you can even start a restaurant and sell it. So many students are there waiting for prasad, and you people are not developing all those things. You should get together and develop those things. Outreach. Go to the university, give them prasadam. These are part of your sadhana practice. So everything, try to see if you can connect with Krishna. Otherwise, it'll be difficult. No, then you will not. If you don't have taste now, if you do not develop sufficiently in your Krishna consciousness, you will not develop the taste properly. And if you don't have taste, you will not take it up seriously. Then it just becomes another activity. That sadhana bhakti is no more bhakti. It's just my sadhana. It's just a regulative life. And regulative life is not bhakti. Regulated life is what? Sattva guna. That's all. And sattva guna means, yeah, you're a good person. That's about it. What is the value of being a good person if you cannot go back to Godhead? Most you take another human birth. That's it. But if you do not develop the desire, strong desire to go back to Godhead, you will not develop it in next life. You may not develop it next life. So it's very important that you consider all these things. I'm trying to highlight to all of you. Don't become overwhelmed and lament too much about material things. Do not do that. You should treat both loss and gain equally. Try to understand those things. That this happens. Many of you do not know what you have been in your previous life, and therefore, according to your previous karma, you will get positive and negative reactions in your life. Sometimes things are favorable, sometimes it will not be. So devotees should be very cautious about all these things. Then you will not be overwhelmed, and do not spend too much time reading newspapers and so on. I'm telling you honestly, you cannot even look at all the news for 1 month. Take my challenge, and then after 1 month you read it's the same news. There's nothing new. If it's new, everyone will tell you. Don't worry about it. You are not going to read anything new. Every day is the same nonsense they talk in the newspaper, or whatever, CNN or TNN or BNN or whatever, like. And stop even watching all, especially Indian people like to watch all those serials, right? I've seen it. I've been to so many homes, and then they all watch the stupid shows. Half an hour everyone, and it's the same story. There'll be a mother-in-law, and she'll be cruel, and then there'll be a daughter-in-law. She's like a demigoddess, but she's so wonderful, and she'll tolerate for the next 5 years. The series will run the same story, and then these foolish people will watch. So all these are mundane things, and then there'll be another serial will be love affair. Who cares, It's all love affair is always there, between men and women and animals and so on. They're only good for the senses. So anyway, practice your sadhana. Make good resolutions to do your sadhana very nicely. On top of that, make sure you do some service for your center or for your deities, your Gaur-Nitai deities. Make a vow like that. This year I'll do these extra things. By the time you leave your body, you can say, I've done so many nice things for Krishna. I hope he will recognize and take me back. Right? So if you think like that, then you'll make a lot of advancement. All right. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll take some questions. Satyasai Prabhu said you all would like to do kirtan and so on. So I'll have like 10 minutes for your questions if you have. Otherwise, I'll release all of you.
Devotees, please unmute and ask question.
Yes.
If anybody has question here in the temple room, let me know. Here. So Prabhu, question from Purnamasi Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Prabhu, you were speaking about Adi Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik,
Yes.
and Adi Daivik. I always had this question with respect to COVID, does it come under Adi Daivik or is it like a collective karma?
Collective karma is not Adi Atmika. It can be anything, So in this case, it's you can say Adi Bhautika and Adi Devika also. Okay. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Can't hear you. So Adi Devika means it's coming from it could be the demigods personalities themselves also. Is it possible? Yeah, they could also, because according to our sinful life, the demigods sometimes also punish us on behalf of Krishna. As you mentioned, karma. If our karma is very nasty, the Bhumi Devi, Bhumi Devi herself is rebelling against us, and that is what I believe it is. The goddess of earth, she is fighting with us because we are abusing her resources and so on. Instead of using it properly, mostly you see everywhere in this world now, these people are very sinful, super sinful. And so as devotees, we should try to help people understand what is good, positive activities and what are negative activities, what is favorable for them collectively, Instead of saying it is sinful, we can say why it is not good to do. Explain, then they can understand. So by connecting them with what reality is, then people will appreciate what we are talking about. But if you say you're sinful, you're nasty, then it's like nobody benefits from such encounters. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories
Who
to
is this?
this Radha Damodar Das Prabhuji.
Okay. Why don't you turn on your video?
We are in the temple, Prabhu.
Oh, yeah, someone else is at home, I guess. Huh?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. So, Prabhuji, one question I have is you mentioned about in order to concentrate our mind, we have to improve our sadhana and the services and chanting, all of them. So we had been doing for some time now, still not making any progress. So in concentrating our mind. So is it something to do with our quality of our service or quality of chanting? What should we do to improve? Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Radha Damodar. All those things you mentioned are possible, you know. As you said, even though we try, so it's still you're not being successful. But remember, Krishna says, "Abhyasena tu kvantaya vairagena cha griyate." Yes, undoubtedly it is so difficult, but one has to keep practicing it. Suitable practice, and then detachment. Detachment from what? Look at your lifestyle and then try to become detached from material things. If you're always associating and trying to enjoy material things, then obviously you will not have that improvement. It's not possible, right? You cannot, what is that thing? You cannot have the fire and pour ghee on it, too much ghee on it. And then if you pour too much oil on fire, it will douse the flame. So it doesn't encourage the fire to light up. So in the same way, our devotion cannot blossom if we keep pursuing material things. There must be a limit. All of you have to plan. And I think I mentioned this maybe even last year, that your life, each and every one of you should plan plan your retirement now. You may be 30s or 40 years old or even 50 years old, but plan your retirement now, that I'm going to retire by such and such time. I don't care how much money I have in the bank, I will retire, because I want to dedicate to Krishna. Then you'll see Krishna will reciprocate if you are sincere. If not, then it's a different story. Otherwise, the more you associate with material nature, the more your mind becomes restless. And then it will become more, when it's restless means it is trying to enjoy through your material senses. Right? Yehi samsparsha jabhoga dukha yonaya evati adyantavanta kontaya nateshu ramate buddha. The intelligent person, he does not take pleasure in the sources of material enjoyment, which is the material senses and objects of material senses. An intelligent person means I know what I want, so I do not and I should not go towards such thing, material enjoyments unnecessarily. If you do, then you get trapped. And so difficult. Once you are in this material energy, it's not easy to get out. So devotional practice must be done with the goal of making a connection with Krishna, and that is a daily process and a daily call to the Supreme Lord. So how you can be successful is you must at least 70% or 75% of the time you have to be thinking of Krishna or doing some service. So therefore service is important, chanting, reading, and all those must be done and your life must be made in such a way that, okay, you're working. Even when you're working, you should be able to think of Krishna in some favorable manner. Somehow you plan your life that even when you work, you can appreciate Krishna like that. So when you do all that, and if you can do 75% of the time, then 25% of the time, if you have to deal with material energy, it's okay. Then you will be successful in this very life. Otherwise, it's it's a toss up, whether you can make it or not. Okay. I hope
Thank
that
you.
helps.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, anybody online? Do you have any questions for Prabhu?
No, I don't think so. Anyone online is asking. Anyway, Happy New Year, Jotsana. I think she's.
Prabhu, we have a question in the temple room, Prabhu, but I want
Yeah,
to.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, online, anyone can ask,
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a question. Like whenever we go out for book distribution, and sometimes they're inclined, and whenever I talk and to give some information more, um, I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm feeling like Operation Success patient died.
Hmm.
So, and I regret, oh, I wouldn't have told this thing, I wouldn't have told that thing. So how to make a moderate, how we would know that?
Generally, when out on book distribution, you should talk less. When you engage in book distribution, when they accept a book, yeah, that's successful already. Don't continue to. The more you talk, the more you reveal you don't know much. So you should be intelligent enough to say, this is our meeting place in the temple, or this is my number or email address. If you have questions, you write to me and I'll answer. Why? Then it gives you more opportunity to think about the question and read more and then answer properly. So in the temple, you have other devotees, you all can sit and discuss nicely also. And if you don't know, you can say, all right, let me look at the Bhagavad Gita. I've read something similar in the Bhagavatam. Let me check and I'll give you more answer. So in that environment, they will be more readily acceptable. But in the street, if the person keeps talking too much, then you lose the opportunity to give books to other people also. So one of the things you should learn is to, within 3 to 4 minutes, you should finish the business transaction. And then you wish them well, give them a card, invitation to Sunday feast, or a contact number or email. I believe that is better. And if you need more information, I think you should also look at YouTube, Vaisheshwara Prabhu's method that he uses. He's very good in San Jose. They are very successful. So you should use how he gives Krishna consciousness, or how you can see he doesn't spend too much time with people. Okay,
Okay,
I
Prabhu.
hope that helps.
Sometimes they say that they are good. We are okay. We are okay. Then we need to say 2-3 minutes, right? That should be okay, right?
Yeah, whatever it is. If they say they are okay, then you say that's fine, but still help us, and this book will also help you, better in many ways. So please take this book like that. Yeah, but if they really don't want, then you don't force it.
Okay.
They should have a favorable impression of you when they leave. Okay.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you,
Now, if
Prabhu.
they don't want anything, then if you have cookies, you can always give them a cookies, some prasad. But don't tell them it's prasad. Just say, hey, I have some cookies. We are also giving out cookies to the people we meet, like that. Right? So you are helping them favorably. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
Mata, please. Any questions? Anybody? I think that's all, Prabhuji.
All right, good. I have a few things to go back and do. Thank you very much. And Mother, is it Mother Samanvita Bodu? Thank you very much for turning on your video. You're the only one. So, and the deities, I thank them also for giving their darshan.
Yes,
And thank you,
Prabhuji.
Satya sir, and the devotees at the temple room, all of you, for allowing me to at least pray for all of you as well as give you some instructions so that you can make another year, but this time much more successful than the previous years. Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for the wonderful class and beautiful instructions you have given us for year 2022. And so we pray to you to bestow your blessings upon all of us so that we can sincerely practice our sadhana as well as do more services in 2022 for our eternal Lord. And once again, thank you very much, Prabhuji. And again, we pray to Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava to give more of your association this year.
Yeah. I'm always available. Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
very much. Vajagapatra Kripa Sindhu Beva Chabaitana Bhava Vaishnave Bio Namo Namo Ananda Kodi Vaishnabinda Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Jai. Okay,
Radha Krishna Prabhu ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. I'm leaving now. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna devotees, we are going to have Guru Puja now. So we are going to set up. So please give us 2 minutes. Then we will do Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. Please stay tuned. Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can do it, right? Hare Krishna devotees in temple. Okay, so when Prabhu was doing Arati, we'll sing Guru Vandana. Then one by one, we'll go and offer the petals to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Subhadra. Yeah, Jai Subhadra will lead it. If she is not available, I will lead. So we take the petal from there and do 3 times to Srila Prabhupada and put it on his lotus feet.
केवल भगति समा श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भगति सद्मा गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भगति समा बंधु मोहि सावधान माते माते बंधु मोहि सावधान माते, बंधु मोहि सावधान माते, जहार प्रसादे भाई ए भव तोरिया जाय, ए भव तोरिया जाय, जहार प्रसादे भाई ए भव तोरिया जाय, प्रसादे भाई हे भव तोरिया जाय, कृष्ण प्राप्ति हाय जहाँ है ते, कृष्ण प्राप्ति हाय जहाँ है ते, गुरु मुख पद्म वाक्या नित्य कोरिया क्या, क्या गुरु मुख पद्म वाक्या चित्त कोरिया क्या, चित्त कोरिया क्या, आर ना कोरी हो माने आशा, कोरी हो माने आशा, आर ना कोरी हो माने आशा, आशा, श्री गुरु चरण रति ऐसे उत्तम गति, ऐसे उत्तम गति, श्री गुरु चरण रति ऐसे उत्तम गति, चरण रति ऐसे उत्तम गति, जे प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा, पूरे सर्व आशा, जे प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा, पूरे सर्व आशा, चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से, दान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु, चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित हो, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित, प्रकाशित, प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ है ते अविद्या विनाश है ते, भक्ति जहाँ है ते अविद्या विनाश, प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ है ते अविद्या विनाश जाते, भक्ति जहाँ है ते अविद्या विनाश, वेद गाय जहाँ चरितो, चरितो, वेद गाय जहाँ चरितो, श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर बंधु सिंधु लोकनाथ लोकीर दीवाना नाथ दीवाना लोकनाथ लोकीर दीवाना दीवाना आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया करो दया देहो मोरे पद ए बेजा शुक्री भुवाना ए बेजा शुक्र भुवाना शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावना प्रभुपाद पतित पावना शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावना पतित पावना हरे गुरुदेव ले लो शरण गुरुदेव ले लो शरण शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावन जय प्रभु जय प्रभु जय प्रभु प्रदाम जय प्रभु प्रदाम जय जय प्रभु प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 नित्य गौर हरि हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाशतादिशतारिणे सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चादिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। श्री अद्वैता श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। नमो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचनाचार्य स्तोत्रस्त श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचनाचार्य स्तोत्रस्त श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम श्री गौर श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण साम गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन धाम की जय। व्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्रम श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। गंगामयी यमुनामयी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। प्रभुपाद ट्रांसडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। प्रभुपाद ट्रांसडेंटल काउ प्रोटेक्शन यज्ञ की जय। प्रभुपाद ट्रांसडेंटल प्रसादम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna devotees, I think we have 15 minutes to chant. So the 8:45 will conclude our Mangalarti program. At 8:45, the prasadam will be available. I think, Umesh, we have to go around and collect it, right? Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. So prasadam, we can go around and from the window, you can collect the prasadam and go. So we'll chant one more round before we conclude. Huh? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.